Yes team, what is going on? Welcome back to another video, and I'm back here in the gym. Probably about time because I've been doing a yomping video, I've been doing a running video, I've been doing a video about book reviews. But primarily, this is a gym-based channel around all things performance, health and physique, and sometimes that requires getting back in the weights room. Because of the rock and roll loser that I am, it is currently Saturday night at about 9 p.m. and I'm back here in Route 1. But I actually did a functional and metabolic bodybuilding circuit earlier today in a gym in my hometown. I got some footage for you of that, and that is what we're going to go over now. And in regards to how I believe you can develop strength, you can develop the aesthetics and the physique that you want, whilst getting a little bit of a conditioning and metabolic effect as well. All of those three objectives can be packaged together, and you can actually create a way of delivering a training session that helps move the needle in the direction of all three of those. Straight into the first primary section it was today then, guys, which is incline bench for me. And I decided to go with one of the flipping age-old techniques. This is a genuine approach that I love, and I've covered this before in one of my monthly favorites videos with a thumbnail that looks like this. Hypertrophy clusters. This is where we basically take a sledgehammer to the conventional 4 sets of 10. We approach those 40 reps in a slightly different way, and we do 8 sets of 5, but with a forced 60-second break between each set. So from the second that you re-rack the bar on one set, it is exactly 60 seconds to when you then start the first rep of the next one. I actually did the first 2 sets on 90, but that felt fairly comfortable, so I went straight up to 95. And this was definitely spicy and kind of followed the same flipping flow pretty much every set, because again, I'm blessed that I'm quite elastic, so the bounce off the chest can be nice and dynamic and ballistic for me. For the first 3 reps anyway, rep 4 was a little bit more of a challenge, and then at the top of rep 4, I had to basically pause, take a big deep breath, drop down, and then make sure that I focused on exploding off the chest as much as possible. In terms of weight selection, this is a funny one, because if you're not used to only having 60 seconds between sets, and that is a true 60 seconds, that is not a bro 60 seconds, where you're high-fiving your mate and checking some girl out that's on the squat rack next door to you. That is a strict 60 seconds from the moment that you re-rack because you finish the set to when you start descending on the next one. If you are not used to this, weight selection is going to be a funny one because you are going to be a little bit gassed. So I'd suggest maybe lift around what you think you can do about 8 reps for, maybe even 10, but you do genuinely get a huge muscle building benefit. The first 2 sets should feel fairly comfortable, but you are doing 8 of them. You can't really leave your station because it's only 60 seconds. You're not going to want to because you want to kind of conserve as much energy as you can. So mess around with this, but I advise run with this with a few different movements. I like incline bench for this. I like box squats for this as well. But to make sure it's an appropriate trial, you have to do all 8 sets first. Don't just do the first 2 and be like, that's flipping easy, I'll put an extra 30 kilos on the bar, because it's supposed to feel fairly comfortable for the first 2 or 3 sets. It's when you're at like 5, 6, 7, 8, that latter half, that's the part where reps 3 and 4, as well as just rep 5, are gonna start to feel a bit spicy. So hypertrophy clusters, to kick the session off, you are getting a little bit of a strength benefit because you've got a fair amount of weight on the bar, but the fact of the matter is this part specifically is primarily hypertrophic based, hence the reason it's called hypertrophy clusters. I heard about this from Jake Chura, who's like a speed, power, and athleticism coach, jumps coach, tendon expert, and a good buddy of mine, Ben Simons, 3-time Olympian, who I talk a lot about on this channel, and he's been on it a couple of times, swears by this stuff, and he put on a flipping lot of timber actually in 2021, I think it was 2021 that he was doing this program for a good few months, and he got absolutely flipping jacked. He was still quick, he was still moving like he was light, but he went all the way up to like 96 kilos from about 91. He was looking good, man. He was looking good. He was moving well. He was visually bigger. He was stronger, but he didn't move in a way that looked any more cumbersome or slow. That's the goal, right? We want to be jacked. We want to look like a bodybuilder, perform like a powerlifter, and move like a sprinter. If we can somehow find a way to encapsulate all of those results in one program, then it's happy days. And hypertrophy clusters, I don't follow the full plan strictly, but I do take elements of it, and at least once every 2 weeks, I have an upper body session that is based around this particular principle. 8 sets of 5, big tick in the box. We are now going to move on. And because that is a lot of focus on just push, I thought it would be good to put together a superset where we just focus on pull work. If I'm going to do this, my go-to back in the days when I used to follow Westside for Skinny Bastards, this is Joe Defranco's take, who's like an NFL coach. He's coached Triple H and a couple of other wrestlers as well. And it's Joe Defranco's take on some of the stuff that came out of Westside Barbell, which is obviously Louie Simmons' gym, God rest his soul. And a lot of the pull supersets with him were basically a super heavy pull movement like bent over row, which is what you're seeing me do now. So I'm going for sets of 10 to 12 with 90 kilos. And then with barely any break, what I'm doing is I'm basically just doing some banded face pulls from a kneeling position. The reason I do it in a half kneeling, I should say, the reason I do it in a half kneeling position There's just something about having that stability like front to back. If you're standing with both feet together, you're stable left to right, but you're not very stable forward and backwards. The fact that you've got one foot in front and the knee behind means you then don't have to basically pinch in the mid-back, and it means you can keep the spine nice and neutral and basically just get the rear delts moving. That's the thing with face pulls, they're not a row. You don't really want to be getting the lats, the big kind of phasic strong pull levers. You don't really want to be getting them moving and getting them working. That's not the point. The point is basically to deactivate those, turn the hands so the palms are facing downwards, and then effectively just pull your thumb up towards your temple. I did 16 of these in total, 8 on each side, although obviously it's a face pull. I basically just kind of change legs halfway through. I'm flipping OCD and paranoid and obsessed with symmetry. Probably only about, I don't know, 60, 75 seconds before I was ready to go again. So 10 to 12 in bent over row, 16 on the face pulls, 8 each side, 3 or 4 sets. I genuinely can't even remember how many I did, and it was about 3 flipping hours ago because my brain fog is that bad because I'm ill. But let's just say 4 sets. Let's round it up and give me the flipping benefit of the doubt, all right? Big green tick in the box again. And now moving on to section 3, which is actually our second kind of hypertrophic strength superset, which is something I very rarely do. I normally have a primary section, a primary strength movement. I then normally have a push and pull superset, and then I normally go into some more high rep auxiliary stuff. But I basically got 2 strength supersets for no other reason than I kind of hyperdosed on caffeine to overcompensate for my flipping man flu, and threw some amino acids in there and some nicotine gum, and I just felt absolutely bloody amazing. So I had a shitload of energy. So I did this. So I, as you can see here, did a half kneeling single arm overhead, which I'm a big fan of anyway. The only thing that I've now changed is I'm holding the same weighted dumbbell basically as a counterbalance in the other arm. I'm still doing it contralaterally, so whichever leg is forward, the other arm is working. I was doing 8 each side, and the counterweight really does bloody help, actually. Today, I just held it down in kind of an Arnold press position, and it does allow me to keep my torso a hell of a lot more stable. So 8 reps on each side for this, and then some banded pull-ups, but another kind of like nuance and tweak that I'm really enjoying at the moment is basically to do split grips. So one arm over, one arm under. I've done this a lot. I've done banded pull-ups a lot, but I've never really done them both together. So banded, only with a light band today, but one arm over, one arm under. 5 reps down, and then no more than 10 seconds. So it's kind of a little bit of a cluster set. Shake your arms off, couple of big deep breaths, and then switch around, and then 5 more reps. And probably, I'm taking a bit of a longer break because I actually found these 2 sets quite challenging. So I probably had about 90 seconds to 2 minutes, slash maybe a little bit more between one of them because there was an unexpected conversation with a friend, which is always nice because the gym's a very social place. 3 rounds total. But that second superset was a nice novelty. I don't always do it. And then moving on to section 4, which is the 4th and final section, it's just a little bit of a gun burner. Again, single arm, which means it's functional and balanced and symmetrical and precise. The rest periods are nice and short, so it's a little bit gassy, which means it's metabolic. So you're getting a little bit of a metabolic effect as well as getting a huge amount of growth hormone release, as rest period is one of the biggest dictating factors of that. So some alternating bicep curls, which I never do, so it's kind of a nice novelty to do that today, and genuinely felt a lot more stable only moving one arm at a time as opposed to kind of almost feeling as though I have to kind of arch back. A little bit of a break at the bottom while the other arm's working before I then go into that same arm again, and that extra little break just seemed to absolutely drive through the flipping roof the total amount of reps I could do. So this was kind of a to failure set, and I have no idea how many I did. I actually didn't really want to count. I kind of wanted to do it just on feel, and I know that I can trust in myself. But for me, when I say like I'm going to failure and I'm only doing it twice, I really flipping do go to failure. And if I was counting, I would have had a certain number in my head. I would have tried to aim for that, and if I hit it, I probably would have told myself that I was done. Like Muhammad Ali said when someone once asked him how many sit-ups he could do, he said, I don't know because I only start counting when they start hurting. And then some single arm tricep extensions, as you're seeing here. One of the interesting things I was trying to do with this is grab a little bit further up the band, just as a little training cue with banded stuff. Obviously it's going with your natural strength curve, so it's always going to be harder to extend right at the bottom. But if you grab too low on a stronger band, as an example, it might be really, really hard at the bottom, but it means that you might not be getting any tension at all at the top. So I just grab a little bit higher just to make sure that there's still a little bit of resistance through that first half of the movement. Otherwise, it might be really cheeky at the bottom, but if you're not getting anything on the first half, you're not really working full range of motion. So that's what I was trying to do, and I was also trying to turn it a tiny little bit almost like I was turning my knuckles down. It wasn't always going that way, but it was making sure that I wasn't doing the typical kind of tricep push down of palms leading the way, and I was trying to get knuckles to lead the way a tiny bit. This one I did have to count because I did want to make sure that both arms were even. So I did 15 each side. I then jumped up to the bar, and the final exercise of the day was just some hanging leg raises. I like to keep a certain cadence and feel a certain amount of tension in my abs and in my core the whole time, instead of kind of like hyper extending at the bottom. If you were as though you were doing kind of like toaster bar in CrossFit, where it's basically you're going for max reps or whatever. But obviously the objective is different here, so you need to tweak the way that you do the movement slightly. So legs coming down and then basically straight back up, and it might not have been full range, but it was kept under tension the whole time, or at the very least that was what I was trying to do. That was about 15 reps as well. Drop down and then straight round once more, biceps, triceps and core. I'm going to wrap up the video there, guys. I really did hope you enjoy this. I really did hope you enjoy this. I really do hope you enjoyed this. Oh my God, I need some flipping lemsip. Hypertrophy clusters at the beginning with some incline bench, 8 sets of 5 with a forced but flipping strict 60-second break between. Try it with what you think you can do between 8 and 10 reps for, and let me know how you get on. Please do put it down in the comment section below. We then moved on to a little bit of a pull superset with some heavy bent over row, or heavy for me anyway, probably not for you warriors. 90 kilos, so between 10 or 12, and then 16, 8 each side on the face pulls. And then moving on to what was for me the most challenging kind of section of the day, which is the single arm overhead, 8 each side, and then some split grip band resisted pull-ups, 5 each side. And then the fourth and final section was just some single arm bicep curls, single arm tricep extensions and some core to failure on the bicep curls, 15 each side for the triceps, 15 for the core, twice through. Functional and metabolic bodybuilding. You do get a strength benefit and a central nervous system activation from this, especially from the hypertrophy clusters. You absolutely get a hypertrophic effect based on the volume and the shrinked slash shrunk slash whatever the flipping heck it is rest period, and combining all of it in the way that it's delivered, you will absolutely get a metabolic benefit as well. Beautiful people, that is the upper body equivalent. I may well do a lower body version as well. I probably will do in the next few weeks. If you did enjoy it, please do put it down in the comment section below. If you hated every flipping second, please also put it down in the comment section below, because YouTube doesn't give a shit and it will still feed the algorithm in my favor. Any questions on anything at all, please put it down in the comment section below and I shall ensure that I get back to you. And as always, beautiful people, stay strong, stay healthy, stay awesome, and I'll see you all in the next video.